Scale. We come into this game of business and you hear this, scale that, scale. But what does it actually mean? Here's the definition by Google AI. The ability for a company to grow without limitations while managing costs. Here's the definition without the AI of just Google. It is within the context of business, setting the stage to enable and support growth in your company. It means having the ability to grow without being hampered. I think the main part there is that I think the definition is the ability to grow without being hampered. And I believe that supports the theory of constraints, which is systems will grow up until they reach a knotting point. And when you undo that knot, they will continue to grow up until they reach the next knotting point. So to scale, the scalability of a channel, the scalability of a YouTube channel is how much content can I push out? And boom, we reach this number. We're like, okay, from this point we get diminishing returns. Okay, how are we going to scale from here? Well, we could add other platforms. You see, there's a constraint, which is okay, YouTube only supports if I do this much. If I do any more than that, then I kind of get diminishing returns. But I still have the capacity to create more. Okay, let me just find another vehicle through which I can. So whenever you're hampered, you find ways around it. You find ways to solve the problem, and eventually, there's too much content to create, and I'm just one person, and I have to do all of the scripting, the editing, etc. Then that becomes a completely different constraint, which is I may need more manpower in this situation. You see, but it will continue to grow up until the next thing that we need, the next problem we need to solve. We solve that, it will grow again. And I believe that the definition of scale supports this as well in terms of business. Now that we've defined what scaling is, let's go into how to. Number one is going up market. So this is going from selling to the hairdresser to the salon. Number two is going down market. So it's going from selling to selling to the salon to selling to the hairdresser. Number three is to an adjacent market. So this is going from hair to nails. Number four is going broader, which is going to beauty in general. And number five is going more specific, which is narrowing down and being more specific about who we want to, like, who is the avatar that we are trying to sell to. And then we can appeal to them a bit more, and we can charge higher for that more premium because it is more valuable to them, and the solutions that you are giving are very specific to that avatar. So it's a more valuable thing. So there's this saying that the riches are in the niches, right? And this personifies that as a vehicle of scale, meaning when you create something that is very particularly and very specifically for a particular person, then you can provide the maximum value to that person. However, that will alienate you from a couple of other potential customers who may have fit in a larger bucket. Now, the next point I want to chase on, and we're pretty much going to be done with this final installment into the unique, expensive, sticky air. These can be used to go from 0 to 1 million US dollars, which is around 18 million South African rands. Then to go from there, if you have something that has this and you've already reached that point, you're now constrained, then you need to apply scale. So you either need to go up market, you need to go down market, you need to go to an adjacent market, you need to go broader, or you need to be more specific. So this is specifically how to optimize for TAM. TAM is total addressable market. So yeah, I hopefully that's quite self-explanatory. If it's not, and you would like me to break that down or go into a definition, then please let me know in the comment section. So it's usually better to do one of those as a smaller business. And as a smaller business, you would be doing one at a time. So you'd either be going up, you down, adjacent, broader, you'd be doing one of those at a time up until as a conglomerate, you would ideally be doing or hitting all of those at the same time. And that's how to scale. So that's the definition of scaling and how to scale in 5 minutes. I've been Sage. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Signing out. I mean, it depends on y'all, bro. Listen, if y'all told me that's like the most valuable thing or the most valuable way that I can deliver to you, it might be, eh? It really might be. Last thing I wanted to touch on is I went from 4 failed businesses in which I very rarely got the opportunity to show and display. I remember why I kind of was hesitant to shut it off is because this actually is very okay. It's quite emotional for me and it means a lot to me. So I would like to add it to this message as well because I think that the people who are going to be asking this question are going to be looking to start businesses. So my first 4 businesses flopped terribly, like you wouldn't believe. um, Even though I did know what I was doing because I had done it for myself, or in the first instance, I hadn't done it for anyone, but I knew exactly what I was doing in terms of I knew what I okay, let's address it, right? I went into personal training, trained by Sage. Fresh out of high school, I said, listen, I'm gonna do this thing. I can do this thing. I know I can do this thing. I have like everyone who knew me knew that I could do this thing. But then the issue becomes as good as I am, there's no proof. So that flops. We we pivot, we go into other things in the meantime where we're doing this and that, we're trying different things out. Eventually we circle back around. And now we have the physical proof. Now I'm a 100 kg guy, over 100 kgs, going from 70 kgs in high school. So I'm huge. I put on 30 kgs of no, not just muscle, but I was actually a pretty like physical specimen in a sense. And I still couldn't get people to buy my personal training. So now I'm like, man, I know that I know that Lord knows there's gotta be a better way because I I knew I could do this. I have done it. What more do they need to see? What more do they need to know? And the difference between that kid and then there was another iteration and another iteration, but long story short, the difference between that kid and myself now, who I opened, I literally, idea popped into my head and something that's been brewing for a while and then people have been coming to me for a while. But I thought, let me just do one organized effort and actually push for it and make it happen. Which was I started consulting. I started a quote consulting firm where I started doing consulting yesterday. And within 24 hours, I had my first 6 clients. Now, what's the difference between these two people? Well, what's the difference between myself then myself now? Is it the knowledge? No. I knew as much then about fitness as I do now about business, and I know what I'm gonna be able to do. I know what the results are gonna look like. I know what I'm doing. Lord knows. Because and this is why I'm saying it's kind of an emotional topic because that kid knew exactly what he was going to achieve, exactly what he could do, exactly the kind of numbers he could put up with the consistency, with the work ethic, with the mindset, etc. And he knew that he wanted to give that to people and apply that to people as well for profit. Because we're not going to act like a saint here, but we have longer goals and bigger goals than just making the quick buck in the second. So anyway, that kid has a vision. He has a dream. He can execute. He does have the skill set, etc. And this guy has the same, but this one has a couple clients, makes a couple thousand, not relatively quickly, but he does make a couple thousand because he it's him. He's very determined. He has done that for himself. So think about the mindset that this kid has, right? So he does manage to learn sales and to close, right? He does manage to become a closer. But the difference between these two guys is knowledge, is the knowledge gap. And it's not knowledge about the service or about the product. He had the best product on the market. He still had a lot less customers. Why? The difference between him and him, he knew how to craft an offer. Me, I know how to craft an offer. So my advice to anyone who is going to be looking, before you look at scaling, before you look at any of my other stuff, any leads, anything, you can look at Alex Hormozi. Alex Hormozi is a fantastic source for this type of material. I was looking for his $100 million leads or $100 million offers, but they're probably in the house. He is a very, very great source material. You can look at some of my stuff. I also talk about it. And I'm sure that there are a lot of other platforms where they speak about this. But before you start a business, number one, learn how to craft an offer. Everything else you need will start there. Learn how to make something so good and so valuable that people feel stupid saying no. When you learn that, then everything else will come to you. When you learn how to make that offer, you will be able to stack proof so that you're able to acquire your following customers a lot easier than you acquired those first ones even, because you'll be able to have the pudding. I don't want to make today's video too long. Thank you guys for tuning in. You know I do love and appreciate you guys. Sage, signing out. So if you loved today's video, or if you were interested in what I was talking about in the last bit, the offers, you can go find that over there. If you don't want to hear it from me, then